Hello traders, and welcome to a new video on Binance order depth. So what we're going to be looking at in today's video is not looking at every single order depth of every single cryptocurrency exchange pulled together, but what I want to look at is just focusing on Binance's order depth and seeing how that can influence price. Because what I found is that a lot of other exchanges might have fake volume, may have spoofing or momentum ignition or other types of manipulative practices, but I've noticed that Binance's order depth has been pretty honest to show how many people want to buy and how many people want to sell. That's just been my personal experience. Now, before we get into how to set that up and how we're going to be looking at 3 cryptocurrencies today and how we can use order depth to trade them profitably, I have attached in the description below my guide called Master of the Books, which gives a ton of strategies on how to trade order depth, on how to find order depth, and really how to implement it into your trading system. So if you're interested in learning more about order depth and taking the next step, you can click the link in the description below. So when we go to vcdepth.io, the first thing that you need to do is go to Exchange, hit this, and we're going to hit Unselect All. I'm going to click just the 2 Binance exchanges. I'm going to click Apply, and you're going to see that this is going to change. This, what you can see, kind of see in the background, is just the order depth of every single exchange pulled together. And what you're about to see is what it looks like just on Binance. So you can see it does look a little bit different. Let me refresh it back to 5%. All right, it's refreshed now. You can see it does look a little bit different, and I've found that the Binance order depth has been more helpful than all order depth pulled together. So this is NEO, and let's go look at just how we could have traded this in the past and what patterns we really see. Well, I see a pattern of bullish order depth, and this whole range would have probably been a not terrible spot to buy. And you can see here what ends up happening is price rises. Price is this blue line right here, as you can see, and the y-axis is right here. Now, if you had bought at any of these values when we see a very bullish order depth, especially if you had bought here, you can see that you would have been profitable. Because more people want to buy than people want to sell. There's more demand than supply on the 5%, just looking at Binance order depth, and price rises. And then what ends up happening is we get a very negative Mdr here, and the actual value for that is minus 36.94%, as you can see here. So I mentioned this in my book, but this is a negative Mdr spike or a negative order depth spike where you get a rapid change in the order depth, which typically tells us that price is going to go in the other direction. So price is probably going to go not toward the wall, but against the wall, other direction. What I mean by that is when we have a very negative Mdr, it tends to lead more often than not to bearish movement when you're looking at a cryptocurrency exchange that has volume and order depth that's a little bit more honest. Now we can see price does fall. If you had bought NEO and then sold NEO here or shorted NEO, then this could have been potentially profitable. But then what we end up seeing is a very strange pattern that I do want to talk about here, where we probably had we just had a lot of flipping of the book here. You can see we went at positive Mdr, we had a negative Mdr, positive Mdr, negative Mdr, with neither side really winning out. This is really something that I'm not going to trade. If I see a constant kind of flipping like that constant, then I'm not going to trade that. But what I am going to trade is when I see Mdr gets even more positive than it had ever gotten before. We reach a positive Mdr value here of 45.83%. This is just telling me that the probability that NEO was going to rise is quite high. And you can see NEO currently is rising. Now what we can also do, which is kind of cool, is we can go in the 1 hour and look at Binance order depth. And this is, I think, really cool. When you're looking at the 1 hour, when you're looking at very, very, very short time frames, it may also be better to look at a very, very small order depth range. So looking at the 1% here, I can see that the order depth has been bullish and NEO has been rising, as you can see here. Okay, now NEO looks like it had been responding pretty well to order depth. Let's go take a look at BNB, Binance Coin. So Binance Coin, and we're only looking at the volume and order depth from Binance. Let me refresh it so it doesn't look kind of strange. Let's refresh it back to here. Perfect. Now, what do we see pattern-wise here? What negative Mdr spikes, positive Mdr spikes, prolonged bullish or negative order depth? What are we looking at here? Well, I see a very negative Mdr, a significantly negative Mdr at about minus 27%. As you can see here, this would have been probably a not terrible time to have shorted Binance Coin, BNB. And that gets even better here when price retraces back upward, and then we see very negative order depth again, yeah, price is probably going to drop. But then what we end up seeing is we get a spike in bullish MDR. And that happens in a few spots. The most dramatic, I would say, is probably here, where when price drops down to here, we get a very, very bullish order depth, and this would have been probably a not terrible time to buy. You can see price does rise. And then what we end up seeing is we have a very, very negative MDR right here. And price does drop, BNB does drop, and then we have a negative MDR again, so I wouldn't be surprised to see BNB over the course of the next hour or two to drop as well. Let's go look at the 1 hour of MDR. Yeah, I mean 1 hour on the 1%. It looks like BNB has a lot of bearish order depth right here on the 1%. If I look at the 5% that it has, a little bit more medium term, it looks quite bearish here as well. So BNB may be dropping a little bit within the short term. Now what I want to do for the next coin, which is going to be XRP, is I'm not going to just look at 2020 hindsight, but I'm actually going to try to, you can do this as well if you use Chrome Draw or Web Paint, but I'm going to do this. You guys will be amazed. So now I can't see what is happening here. So now if I go to XRP, it's going to actually cover up the order depth, so you and I both don't know. Okay, it shows here. Let me see. Come on. Well, the good news is, okay, I'm not going to look. I'm not looking. I'm going to go on the 1 day. We're looking at the 1 month. So, okay. I have no idea what happened on the 1 day. Let's go look at it. All right, and let me refresh the books like I always do, just to go back to the 5%. All right, what do we see? Let's do it. So, looks like, first of all, we had a very negative MDR and price dropped, and then we had a positive MDR and price rose, then we have a negative MDR here. We just saw a pretty bullish spike in MDR here, so I wouldn't be shocked to see price go a little bit more flat. I don't think we're going to rise immediately. I know we have a pretty bullish MDR, but I have a feeling the price is going to be flat or go a little bit lower. And what I would love to see for a buy trigger for me immediately is if I actually see here that MDR goes above this value here, then I'm going to buy. So let's go see if that happens. So I'm thinking the price probably went down a bit and stayed flat. I'm trying to erase a little bit of this. But again, the minute that MDR gets higher than that value, oh, come on, dude. I'm like trying to erase it. Yep, so MDR does get higher right there, so that would have triggered my buy. This is the most efficient way of me erasing, I found. Okay, bear with me, guys. So yep, let me just talk about what I was talking about here. So what I had said is I think that this is a bullish MDR, this is good, but what I'm looking at is for a break of this MDR, and then I'm probably going to want to buy. We got a break of that MDR right here. So what I would have done, and you know, this is all explained in Master of the Books in my guide, is I probably would have bought here, because that's exactly what I had said in my system. So let's say we had bought here. Let's go find what had happened. Let me see if I can erase a little bit quicker. Okay, so price is flat right now. I'm still holding. This is a beautiful bullish MDR. This looks good. Okay, let's just erase all of it and just see what would have happened. Yeah, good. That's very, very good. So what ended up happening is just through that little backtesting method that I had showed you guys, when we see a even more bullish MDR than before, we bought here. Okay. That is a really interesting color. Interesting size. So we had bought here at almost the market low, just because we're using order depth here, and it looks like price rose, and we probably would have sold once we see all this negative MDR right here, as you can see. That would have been a good time to sell. So let me do that one more time. I said we would be just doing 3, but you guys got the bonus. Let me look at just some random coin, and I'm going to go on the 6 months so that when I go on the coin, I'm not going to know, what actually had occurred. So let me look at. Okay, what's a fun coin? I want a coin that has a large enough market cap. XMR. I'll look at XMR, sure. And I'm gonna do the same thing where I cover up the. You'll see here. Okay, so I'm looking at the 6 months. So I have no idea what happened on the 1 day. This does not tell me what happens on the 1 day. But let's look at the 1 day and see how we could have potentially scalped this. Okay. Beautiful. Now I'm hopping on that 1 day. Let's go see what's going on here. Let me refresh the MDR like I always do, back to 5%. And what I'm doing today is exactly how you can practice as well, if you are interested. All right, so we see a bullish MDR. Awesome. We see a plus 25%. Now, I would say with this one, it looks like price is trending down, as I can see here. My strategy here is I will buy a MDR break of 25%. I think that if MDR gets above 25%, price goes a little bit lower. Awesome, I'm going to buy. Now let me peel back the layers of this and see what's going on here. So hopefully price drops and we get a better price. I want MDR to break 25% really badly. Come on, break 25%. Oh, it did just there. So this would have triggered a buy. So like I just said before, if MDR breaks 25%, which it clearly does here, then we are going to buy. So we would have bought here. Now let's see how that would have worked out. So price does go against us a bit. That's fine. Price is flat right here. Price is still flat. Awesome. Now we're in profit. So what would have ended up happening through my terrible shading? Oh, now we're really in profit. Wow. This would have been a beauty of a trade. Look at this, guys. We bought here, and yeah, we hold. There's really no reason to sell. MDR is still bullish, and price rises. And I'm still holding. I do not want to sell. So we would have bought here, and we're still holding here. But what I do want to look out for is what kind of MDR are we seeing here? I would say still holding here. We do see some negative MDR, though. Still holding. If this, and now here's my exit strategy. If MDR gets below here, I'm just going to exit. So let's see if that actually ever did happen. Yeah. Oh my God, this would have been perfect because look, MDR does get negative here, and I would have sold around here because I said if we ever get MDR to be more negative than this, then we will sell, and we probably would have just sold there. So that would have been buying here and selling here. Now, some of you guys might be skeptical. If I was watching, I'd be skeptical. I'd be like, wait, but you're not actually trading. True, I am trading, but I'm not, trading live right here. But what I'm doing is I'm practicing. And I constantly emphasize practice, practice, practice. And one way to practice is by covering up what happened in the future, going in the past where you have zero knowledge of what happened to that coin, zero knowledge of the order depth of that coin on the daily, and then looking to see what you would have done with certain kinds of patterns. Now, the pattern of trading that I use to show you guys today is using breaks, using where you identify a certain amount of bullish or bearish MDR, and if you see a break of that, then you execute your trade. So what I had said a few times before, and what I said in this example here, is if MDR breaks 25%, I do want to buy, and we would have bought here. And then here what I found is if MDR breaks this value here, which it does here, then I probably want to sell, which is there. Now this is a kind of system that I mentioned in my book, and if you want to learn more about it, it details the entire thing and has videos on it, so you can make 100% sure that you're doing this successfully and profitably. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. Just to recap on what we talked about today, we actually got some practice methods in. We looked at 5 coins. I think 5 coins? 4 coins. We looked at 4 coins and the market cap. And also, really, the point of this video is to show that it may not always be best to just use every single exchange's order depth. It might be better to zoom in and just use exchanges that you really trust, or just one exchange, just like Binance itself. Because I found that that can actually give us some pretty good patterns. With that, happy trading, and go get that order depth.